The Kansas 3rd isn't the only U.S. House race of note. As we said, all 435 seats are up for grabs in November. Let's run through some of them now, including the race for the Kansas 1st. Lawrence Democrat Paul Buskirk's challenging incumbent two-term Congressman Tracy Mann. The Kansas 2nd has no incumbent since Representative Jake LaTurner's leaving the job. Former Congresswoman Nancy Boyd is up against former Kansas Attorney General Derek Schmidt and Libertarian candidate John Howard. In Missouri, we're watching three races in our area. Incumbent Republican Mark Alford's facing Democrat Jeanette Cass and Libertarian Thomas Holbrook. In the 5th, which covers much of Kansas City, longtime Congressman Emmanuel Cleaver is working to hold his seat against Republican County Legislator Sean Smith, Libertarian Bill Wayne, and Michael Day from the Green Party. And Republican incumbent Sam Graves wants another turn in Missouri's 6th district. He's facing Democrat Pam May, Libertarian Andy Maidment, and Green Party candidate Mike Deal. Here to discuss the battle for the House, please welcome back Brian Ellison, host contributor with KCUR, and KMBC9 political reporter Michael Mahoney. Welcome back, gentlemen. Let's start in the Kansas 3rd. We have a three-term incumbent and another Republican challenger. What are your takeaways with these candidates?
Well, I think, so I was interested to hear Sharice Davids sound some pretty populist notes. She was willing to talk, be sort of anti-corporate in her language, highlighted her bipartisan efforts. But you also saw Prasanth Reddy move to the middle in his comments as well. He's totally supportive of exceptions for abortion rights. He supports Trump policies, but with a very much kinder, gentler tone. And so I think it's clear what they think they need to do to win the Kansas 3rd district. I still have to think Sharice Davids has the edge.
One of the things that Mr. Reddy brought up that I noted was he said that price caps on prescription drugs and that sort of thing would discourage innovation. That is a page right out of Big Pharma's book. And they've been saying that for years and years. Big Pharma does develop a lot of drugs, but so do universities and think tanks. And I think that the popular mood of Americans right now and voters is they want to see healthcare costs in general and prescription costs in particular controlled.
I'm very interested in the way immigration is playing out in that race as well.
Right.
Prasanth Reddy wants that to be the big issue. My family did it the legal way. And yet, Sharice Davids is not necessarily the typical Democrat on immigration, and she's able to actually blame Donald Trump and his opposition to the bill that was making its way through the Senate. So that issue has been taken away pretty effectively, I think, from Prasanth Reddy, and it may not play out to be a big issue in that race, where it might have been a strength for Republicans, certainly in other districts.
Right, Representative Davids admitting that there's a problem, and it happened during the Biden administration's watch.
And at one point, Republicans were going after her, saying that she wanted to abolish ICE. That was a long time ago, and they've tried to resurrect that in this campaign, but as Brian says, it doesn't seem to be catching fire.
Let's go to the Kansas 2nd now. We have some higher profile names in Kansas politics running, Derek Schmidt and Nancy Boyd. And Mahoney, what should we expect here?
I think this is Derek Schmidt's race to lose. He has very widespread name identification, and his positives are in the 70% range. Nancy Boyd served simply one term in Congress, and not a lot of people may remember that. I think this is Schmidt's race to lose.
I certainly agree with Michael that it is. Although I actually think it might be the most interesting race to watch, partly because of who these candidates are. Derek Schmidt needing to make a political comeback after losing the race for governor. Nancy Boyd, just an interesting candidate, lives out on a farm in Baldwin City, bucks Democratic orthodoxy in a number of ways, even though she served a term as a Democrat, but she's a former Republican. They're interesting candidates, and it'll be an interesting race, but I think Derek Schmidt does indeed have a strong edge.
Sure. Any trouble for Tracy Mann in the big first?
No, I don't think so. I think what's more interesting in general is the Democrats across the country have a shot at winning the House back. Now, they're probably going to lose the Senate, but they've got a shot because the majority is so narrow in the House for the Republicans that it's possible that the Democrats could win the House. If that happens, then Sam Graves in North Missouri loses his transportation chair, and Emmanuel Cleaver probably becomes a subcommittee chair in a financial services committee.
That's a good point. We mentioned those three Missouri races close to home. Do you expect any surprises?
I don't think we'll have any surprises, but I do think it is worth watching the Emmanuel Cleaver-Sean Smith race. Sean Smith is not a perennial candidate for Congress. Congress, which is usually who has been run up against Emanuel Cleaver. He's an elected leader in Jackson County. If he makes a good showing, I think you'll see Republicans actually possibly invest more in that race once Emanuel Cleaver decides to retire, which I think most folks assume will happen within a term or two.
And don't forget, Sean Smith in the county legislature has been in the thick of the Jackson County reassessment fight, and that may be a consideration for voters too.
Huge issue in Jackson County, so we'll see if it has any effect on November 5th. Michael Mahoney, Brian Ellison, thank you so much. Get the facts about key races and ballot issues with Heart of the Matter and KMBC 9 News. We'll gear you up for Election Day on air and online at KMBC.com.